So, this might sound a bit crazy, maybe something that had come out from an insane person's blabbering mouth, but it's true. To all you people out there, speaking from my experience, this might be a gift, a blessing in disguise, an opportunity to right the wrongs, maybe change the future perhaps. For me however, this is more of a curse than a gift. Also, one thing to note here, it's not something I can control, but something that just forces me to glitch out of my timeline. And with that wrapped up, I'll tell you about the first time I glitched out of my time. Regress, per se. So, it was just a lonely afternoon, my parents were on a trip, along with my brother and sister, and I was left in the house. To guard it, apparently. I knew that wouldn't be that case, but I never bothered to speak about it, cause I liked staying at home and watching my favorite TV shows and playing those old Call of Duty FPS games with my potato PC. And maybe eating some snacks occasionally when I can take a break from all that stuff. The house is divided into two actually, one being the living room and bedroom, the other being the dining room and kitchen. I went to the kitchen to get some snacks, since most of them are stored there. I took some cookies I liked, sat on the dining chair, and just proceeded to eat them cookies. I was thoroughly enjoying them, and I was looking at this one clock. It caught my attention actually, because, for the most part, that clock was something I never noticed, and yet on that day I did. I thought that maybe it was just out of boredom that I started to notice stuff I don't usually pay attention to. There was something weird though. The ticking of the clock was unusually loud that moment. The ticking was slowly becoming faster and faster. At that moment, I started to hear sounds I've never heard before. Things were becoming different, bit by bit. The juice that I was drinking at that moment was slowly becoming tasteless. My cookie that I tried to savor was starting to taste like mud. I looked at the clock again, but now, it looks different, it looks more antiquish. It looked real old, like it looked something from the Victorian era. Nevertheless, out of curiosity, I tried to check it out. I pinched myself, rubbed my eyes, making sure I wasn't dreaming. But everything was real, it was hard to believe. I almost had a panic attack by then. My head was spinning around, it felt like it had split into two, but one thing remained the same amidst all the chaos. The clock was still in the same position, it wasn't distorted, but rather, it was starting to look something like both worlds just had a fallout with each other. Best of both worlds. After that, I tried reaching out for the cup of juice I had, and drank it, thought that maybe it'd help ease the whole thing, but it didn't. It just made things progress further. By then, the juice that I was so glad to drink, mainly because it had the flavor of Four Seasons, was now replaced with blood. It was the one wake-up call I didn't like. That wake-up call was something I didn't expect. I found myself going in full circles before blanking out and losing consciousness. In the end, I actually fucking regressed through time. This might be something others would look forward to, but not for me. Because something was there. There were what I could make out to be ancient souls. They were chattering about stuff in a unique language, mainly because I can't comprehend whatever the fuck they were talking about. But one thing that snapped at my mind in that moment, was that they were the bastards that were responsible for that mess. I was laying down in this cloudy space, and as I tried to stand up, and reach out to them, obviously to yell at them and berate them, because they brought me in that mess, however, just right as I was about to do so, I suddenly fell into this seemingly endless pit of both light and darkness. However, just when I was about to reach the end of the pit, I heard a voice saying, "Find the great merchant. Use them to find the catalyst of the day of reckoning, and prevent it from happening. You have 50 regressions to do so." As the voice said that, I retorted back with "Why? Just bring me back ho," only to fade out in the light, and find myself in a different place. As I finally gained consciousness, gasping for air, holding my chest tight, as it felt heavy, what greeted me when I woke up was a pile of bodies, just stacking one over another on top of me. It was hard to breathe, I struggled, and I forced my way out. As I got out of the body pile, I was in the middle of war. Ginormous balls of fire from catapults flying over my head, soldiers clashing swords, beasts which can be said to be mythical duking it out beside me. Everything was just too much to handle. I ran away, not looking back, as I was desperate to get away, and gather my thoughts. I remembered what the voice said by then: find the great merchant. Use them to find the catalyst of the day of reckoning, and prevent it from happening. And so, I hesitated, amidst the horde of soldiers and cavalrymen rushing in front of me, readying their weapons. I decided I'll fight, at the very least. Because one thing I understood at that moment: unless I fight for my life, I will die. With my courage said to be that of bare bones, I rushed back once again to the battlefield, with a sword in my hand, and looking pathetic. I yelled, as if it were my last time, and just when I was about to raise my sword up high, memories rushed into my mind. It overwhelmed me so much, everything became so clear, it felt like my body was undergoing a massive change. Lots of it poured down on my fragile mind, and I almost broke down. After it happened, I tried gathering my thoughts, and process what just happened. Everything just seemed so surreal. I was reminded once again that things are different, and I'm in the middle of a battlefield. As I raised my head, a voice spoke: so, you're still alive, huh? Not bad for a meager seer. Sadly, you've to die in my hands, for that is your fate. I was confused, and when I looked at him, what greeted me was a spear thrusted right into my eye, leading to my death. Things were going too fast. I regressed. I was in the middle of war, and then I died. Quite anticlimactic, isn't it? That's not the worst part though. I was back in that cloudy space once again. The very same voice told me, you have 49 regressions left. Complete the mission, and the suffering will end, it said. I was beyond scared shitless at that point. I died, and I saw for myself what just slapped my face, and it was a goddamned spear. And yet this bastard still had the gall to say that shit. And so I yelled, why me? Just stop this, you crazy fucker. Please. Just send me back home. Make me forget all of this. And I cried, and cried, when it suddenly said, your memories and experiences will carry over to your current life, along with the memories of the recipient's timeline. This is required, so as to eliminate the future, where the world would meet its end. As you complete the mission, you will receive relics, memories, and power like never imagined. However, they all come at a price, and the unspeakable horror itself alone is more than enough to make any man hesitate to even do it in the first place. Right now, only the seer can do this. Will you choose to accept? As soon as I heard the phrase, will you choose to accept? I instantly replied with no. After that, I was back to the real world. 2 weeks passed by already. When my parents arrived back, they were forced to break into the house, as I gave no response when they rang the doorbell multiple times, and even with yelling so that I can hear them. Still, nothing happened. After breaking in, did they discover that I was out cold, eyes now white, and continuously trembling for some reason. I was brought to the hospital and was diagnosed with comatose, but the doctors couldn't figure out a particular reason why. That was 1 week earlier. A week passed, and I woke up. To my joy, my family was there waiting for me. And I was stoked to see them. I said what I wanted to say to them, seeing how I'm given a second chance once again. And so, the tense atmosphere in the room was lightened. Albeit still feeling weak, I tried to stand up, with the aid of my father, to go to the bathroom. As I finished my business, I went to the mirror, and looked at myself, thinking, yep, totally normal. Nothing happened, nothing weird at all. That shit never happened at all. Let's just forget about it. Was interrupted, however, with one disturbing detail. My face looked rugged, brandished with war, along with a huge scar on my eye. It looked just exactly like something pierced it. That was exactly how I died on my first regression. Along with one more thing, I remember everything, the memories of who I was on that day. The events, the people, everything. As I stood in shock, still trying to deny what happened, I heard the voice once again. In two weeks, you will be sent back into time, O great seer of time, servant of Janus. Turns out, it wasn't something I could refuse in the first place. It was something I had to do, an obligation imposed on me. A burden I didn't deserve to carry, and yet I did. Something is definitely going on here. And it's far greater than just simple supernatural forces. This involves forcefully changing the course of history, and the fate of mankind.